just killing it,
I was like 2-12. Not surprising, I'm out. But we're going to talk bowl games, too.
Yeah, bowl games. We've got a lot to break down today. The 3 Saturday games on the NFL schedule, right? And then as well, we've got the biggest Sunday matchups, of course. We've got plenty of NBA and college basketball to cover. And our experts are going to play Santa Claus, right? And let us know who's on their naughty and nice list this holiday season. Oh, yeah.
No bah humbug here.
Pretty fun that you get to be Santa Claus. And on top of that, we're going to have a ton of fun prop and futures bets that are available on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. And along with our guys here in the studio, we also have sports analytics expert specialist Ed Egros joining us from Dallas. You can check out his podcast. It's called Hazard Play. New episodes released every Thursday on iTunes and the Vocal app. Good morning, Ed. Make sure to download the free FanDuel Sportsbook app right now so that you can see these lines that we're talking about on the show, and you can place your bets in real time on the app. So sign up for your account using the promo code MOREWAYS25, and you get a free $25 bet plus a risk-free bet up to $500 in site credit. So get to it, get to downloading, and let's dive right into the first game here scheduled on Saturday between the Texans and the Bucs. And even though this Bucs team is eliminated from playoff contention, they're certainly not playing like it. They've won 4 straight, guys, and have the NFL's 3rd best offense. That offense will face the Texans defense that gives up the 5th most passing yards per game and has allowed the 4th most passing touchdowns. Mark, I know you like this game. The Texans are 3-point favorites. That really hasn't done them any good this year whatsoever. They're just 1-5 against the spread as the favorites. So which Texans team shows up this week?
Well, that is the big question, right, Danny? But I think that you have to talk about this Texans team and think that they learned their lesson a couple of weeks ago. Remember, they had the huge win against the New England Patriots, and then all of a sudden they fell flat on their face against the Denver Broncos. I think they're going to take that experience, they're going to learn from it, and this week with an opportunity, they're in control of their destiny of taking the division in the AFC South. I like the Texans in this spot. Plus, you just mentioned it, Danny, the fact is that Tampa Bay is already eliminated from playoff contention, and they actually haven't even been that good playing at home this season. They've been better on the road winning games of late. So I'm going to go with the Texans here. I like the number laying.
Man, I'm curious to know, Dave, your opinion on this one, too, because how do you get motivated when you're just out of the playoff contention?
Well, they won 4 straight, though, right? So they do still have some motivation. You wouldn't have guessed that the Bucs are 7-7. They're suddenly 500.
Crazy.
They were, 3-7, and now here they are 7-7. But you mentioned Houston plays better on the road. The Bucs aren't good at home. The Bucs actually play better on the road, too. For whatever reason, their defense is better on the road. At home, the Bucs are giving up 32 points a game. They made the Colts offense look good 2 weeks ago, and that's hard to do. So there's a problem there with the Bucs defense. I think Texas is going to certainly air it out on the Tampa corners. It's going to be a high-scoring game. I think Houston wins maybe 37-30.
The other thing to worry about, too, if you're backing the Buccaneers here in this one, you guys, is the fact that they have a ton of weapons that are down, especially at the wide receiver position. Godwin, he looks to be out. We already know that Mike Evans is probably out for the rest of the season, and they haven't been a strong running team the entire season as well. So I just think Houston is a better team, period, and right now they have so much to play for compared to Tampa Bay.
Well, Ed, you are our Texas resident, so what's your pick here?
Well, a fluke bounce of the ball became really a 14-point swing last week for the Texans. Tennessee was about to score before a hard hit turned into a Whitney Merciless return. He nearly went coast to coast there. Deshaun Watson has not played well lately. He came in 24th among all quarterbacks in total QBR last week. And for the season, yes, he is ahead of Jameis Winston in terms of completion percentage, over expected, combined with EPA per play. But in the last 4 games, Jameis Winston has been playing like a top 10 quarterback. It's why they're on a 4-game winning streak. And I actually like the home team Bucs here.
Great stuff, Ed. Okay, well, now let's move on to the AFC East, where you wouldn't figure that there'd be a battle for this division, but at this point, there is. The Bills, who are just a game behind of New England. So Buffalo's been solid away from home, leading the AFC with 6 road wins. But Josh Allen has struggled in his 2 career games against New England, throwing just 1 touchdown to 5 interceptions. And that Patriots' #1 ranked defense continues to carry them. I mean, scoring their NFL-leading 5th defensive touchdown last week against Cincinnati. Mark, I'm going to start with you here. The Pats are favored by 6.5, a total of 37.5. Is this a spot where you bet against New England?
It's really tough. For me, I mean, obviously Buffalo has been the surprise team of the season so far with what they've been able to do, and the fact that they're even in the conversation that they could still win the division if they can come up with some results these final 2 weeks of the season. But I look at New England, 6-2 against the number the last 8 times they've played one of their division opponents, which is the case here against Buffalo. And remember, they didn't cover the spread the last time these teams played, right? It was in Buffalo, and I think it ended up being a really low-scoring game in that one, as is the total is indicating here in this one. I just can't go against Brady and Belichick, and the reason is we saw a little flash of the offense against Cincinnati last week, and I feel like they're going to get on the uptick and continue to go higher and higher with their offense this week. And Dave, I also think the fact is that Buffalo could have a little bit of a letdown in this one, because now that they know they are in the playoffs, coming off of a good result last weekend where they surprised your Pittsburgh Steelers, I just think that there might be a little letdown here.
How do you see it playing?
I don't think there's a letdown. I was just researching some numbers on that game from week 5. Remember, I forgot how much better Buffalo played than the score indicated. New England won 16-10, but all 16 of those points were off of turnovers. Buffalo dominated. They had double the first downs of the Patriots, 150 more yards, and this was a game where Josh Allen actually got knocked out with a hit to the head in the beginning of the fourth quarter. Matt Barkley came in and played the rest of the game. I think there's a little bit of a revenge factor here. That they believe that was a little bit of a cheap hit. There was no penalty on the play, and there was no ejection. But I think they have something to prove here. And I've been against the Bills all year long, saying they're not as good as I think they are. And every week they are proving that they are as good as their record indicates. I think the Bills can go in there and win this game.
But that was at home for Buffalo back in week 5. This is on the road in Foxborough. It's a different scenario.
Let's have Ed settle this. Ed, what's your take on this game?
Okay, so I know Tom Brady has looked average for pretty much the entire season, but he has suffered the second fewest hits of any quarterback in the National Football League. And that's really important because it makes it a lot less likely for Brady to get injured, to not be able to complete a game, whatever it is, wear down, whatever it is. His receivers have dropped more passes than any other group in football, but Josh Allen's receivers have dropped the 3rd most throws. In some ways, both of these offenses are very much similar in terms of overall quality. Patriots do have a narrow lead over Buffalo in offensive VPA, but to me, the New England secondary is still elite. I got to go with Tom Brady here. I think the Patriots cover 6.5.
Great stuff. Okay, let's move out west now, where the Niners host the Rams Saturday night. The Rams come into this game, guys, literally needing life support for the playoffs. I mean, they
like a 1%.
There's like a 1% chance,
1.9% chance or something.
Yeah.
So you're saying last year.
So,
they needed to be
I have been in a meeting room with Sean McVay where he motivates you. Are you saying there's a % chance he's going to make sure that this team feels that way as well? But Jared Goff had success playing in Santa Clara. In 2 career games, he's 2-0 with a QB rating of 137.8 and has a 5.20 touchdown interception ratio. It's where he's from. He's going home, essentially, to go play. The 49ers started out 10-1, but they've lost 2 of their last 3. Mark, starting with you again, these Niners are a 6.5-point home favorite for the 4th time this year. But get this, they're 0-2-1 against that number. So do they cover this time?
Well, if you broaden the scope just a little bit, Danny, and you take it a little bit deeper, the fact is prior to falling flat on their face at home against Atlanta last week, the 49ers had covered in the previous 3 weeks before that. I think they had to learn something from what happened this past weekend against Atlanta when really they seemed in cruise control all the way down to the final few minutes of the 4th quarter. All of a sudden, Matt Ryan drives Atlanta down. And then, of course, the fluky way that it ended with Atlanta getting the extra score. So 6.5, I'm a little concerned about this number because it is within the division. I might even go as far as to say, hey, buy that half point and buy it down to 6 in this case. But I think that the Niners are a better defense than what the Rams faced in Dallas, and we saw what happened last week against the Cowboys for L.A. So I'll back the Niners here.
Dave, do you think that they got this line right?
Well, it's begging you to bet the Niners when it's just under that touchdown, right? It's tough to play the Rams to plus 6.5. But when you look at which teams lose close games like the Niners, always seem to lose in the last play. When the Rams lose, their average defeat is 16 points. So they usually lose by more than the 6.5. When they lose big. And I just think the bubble burst last week when you had all that momentum. You go into Dallas, you win there, you got a great chance of getting a wild card, and you get not only lose, you get embarrassed. You mentioned Goff has had success at San Fran, but that's not against this year's San Francisco 49ers defense. Because when the Rams played the 49ers early this year, Goff had 78 yards. The leading receiver had 25 yards. I think whatever he's done in Santa Clara in the past, I'm not considering that, because this year, the 49ers defense, he was stymied. I mean, he just could not get anything going in that game against San Francisco. I don't see that changing here.
20-7 was the final now.
When
Dave.
you pop a balloon, it just kind of goes like, that's the Rams. Rams are falling to the ground, a flat pop balloon in San Francisco.
Oh my gosh, that's quite some sound effects. And what exactly are your metrics telling you in this game?
Fortunately, my metrics don't have sound effects. I apologize in advance for that. But, yeah, right. I'm right on it. No, I want to talk about Jimmy Garoppolo for just a little bit, and I'm not exactly convinced that he's the reason why San Francisco is in the running for the #1 seed in the NFC. Go back to that game a couple of weeks ago when the Niners beat the Saints 48-46. That week, Jimmy G was 11th among all quarterbacks in total QBR. You'd think, well, you hang 48 points, he must have had this elite game. Not really. For the season, he ranks 11th in completion percentage over expected plus EPA per play. What's helped Jimmy G a lot is he's had a lot of short fields and an outstanding run game. And I know the Rams had a clunker against the Dallas Cowboys, but they played very, very well up to that point. Jared Goff, when he has protection, can still play very, very well. I'm not sure how much pressure the Niners defense will provide here. Offensive line can still play well. Jared Goff can still play very, very well when he utilizes play action. I think the Rams can cover 6.5.
Maybe people will agree with you, Ed. We'll see here, because you can just log on and do that app yourself. But we've got more NFL game previews that are coming up in about 15 minutes. We'll take a look at the matchups with the most playoff implications at stake, including the huge Cowboys-Eagles matchup that I know Ed's going to want to jump in on as well. You can check out all the lines for those games and more on the free FanDuel Sportsbook app, and even get free money to make your first bet. Like I said, if you agree with Ed, then download and show me. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app, sign up for an account using the promo code MOREWAYS25. You'll get a risk-free bet up to $500 in site credit and an additional $25 free bet. So make sure you sign up for a FanDuel account. Here's the key part. You got to use the promo code MOREWAYS25 and take advantage of that awesome promotion. And on top of making bets on the free FanDuel Sportsbook app, you can also play daily fantasy and win some cash. So all you got to do is log on to FanDuel.com and check out the fantasy games available for the Saturday slate. Just set your lineup and you get a shot to win. It's as easy as that. And we're going to give you the inside track, the inside information, because joining me now is fantasy expert Jim Sanez, and he's done the research, so you just don't have to. Jim's going to give us cash game and tournament players that we should get into our lineups. Jim, good morning. Who is on your list this week?
Yeah, it's a very interesting slate, Danny, because there aren't a lot of expensive running backs to pay for, which means we can spend it at quarterback in cash games, which gives me access to Deshaun Watson, and I very much want that, because this is the most attractive game on this slate by a pretty significant margin. He is $8,600, and this is a spot where in Week 16 we want teams that are motivated, and the Texans are trying to win the AFC South, which means they will have motivation here. So Deshaun Watson, hard to pass up when you combine his rushing with his passing. For tournaments, I really like Jimmy Garoppolo. This Rams defense has been volatile. They performed really well, against the Cardinals, but against teams like the Cowboys and like the Ravens, they've crumbled. And this 49ers offense, when fully healthy, can be very good. So I think that the Garoppolo is pretty in play for tournaments, but again, even there, I'd like Deshaun Watson as well. A wide receiver in cash game, Brashad Perriman is very interesting. He is $7,400, and you look back to last week, and sure, he had just 6 targets in that game, and that's definitely not great. However, we know he's going to be on the field, and when you're on the field in this Bucs offense, good things tend to happen for wide receivers. $7,400. He had 3 touchdowns last week, and I think that when you add in production with good volume, it leads to additional volume in the future. That's why I like Brashad Perriman. For tournaments, though, I like Will Fuller quite a bit, tying him to Deshaun Watson. Came back with 7 targets last week. If we look at the games where both Will Fuller and Kenny Stills have been healthy, Fuller has 22% of the team's targets. He has 32% of the deep targets in those games as well, and he's facing the Bucs, a secondary we target with regularity. So I think that you could make an argument for Will Fuller in cash games, but for tournaments, he is really hard to pass up. Running back is tough. I will fully admit that. There aren't a lot of guys I desperately want to use, but the guy I think you could argue with the best workload here is actually Devin Singletary facing the Patriots. If we look at him since his role change, since he became the feature back in this offense, he is averaging 16.6 carries per game and 4.0 targets per game. that is awesome. And yeah, the matchup is tough, but volume is king in fantasy, and Singletary is getting the best volume among running backs in the slate. So I actually do like him for cash games despite facing the Patriots. Todd Gurley, $7,400. He's kind of only in play for tournaments here, but I think that when you look at this matchup, kind of like Edward mentioned, I could see the Rams covering in this game, and Gurley has been getting much more volume recently with Sean McVay kind of taking the leash off of him. So $7,400 for Todd Gurley, I think that that's not that bad. So a tricky slate at running back to be sure, but I think that Singletary's pretty safe, and Gurley could be a bit sneaky if people are totally off this Rams offense.
Great stuff, Jim, as always. You can get more of Jim's information on his podcast. It's called Heat Check, a fantasy podcast. It's available every Monday and Thursday on the Number Fire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed. Thanks so much, Jim. Appreciate it. We've got plenty more NFL coverage on the way, but let's switch gears to the NBA, where we have 9 games on the schedule tonight. Okay, so let's start with the Heat, who will play at Philly for the second time in less than a month. The city of brotherly love hasn't been very loving to the Heat as of late, right? Going winless in their last 6 trips. The Sixers are winners of 5 of their last 6, and they're proving to be one of the more complete teams in the NBA, ranking 3rd in field goal percentage and 3rd in points allowed. And so, Dave, I'm going to start with you. The 76ers are a 7.5-point favorite. You can see that on your screen. How is this one playing out?
I actually like Miami in this spot. Not only the plus 7.5 points, but I'm looking at that plus 260 on the money line and think they can win this game. They lost to Memphis last time out as a favorite, but when Miami gets upset as a favorite and lose, they always bounce back. They've won 13 out of the last 15 in that spot. So they lose to a team they're not supposed to lose to, and they come back and beat a team that they're not supposed to. That's how the Miami Heat work. I think they're going to show up tonight and can surprise the 76ers. I like Miami to win.
When you say surprise, I think for me, Dave, that's talking about maybe covering the 7.5. I don't think there's any
win.
There's a reason that Philadelphia 76ers are 14-0 at home, the only remaining home unbeaten team in the NBA. And on top of that, they just came off of a terrible loss against the Brooklyn Nets, where they did not have Joel Embiid. Embiid comes back into the fold. He was battling a sickness, so he will be back into the fold for the 76ers. There's just too much firepower there. Plus, there still is that narrative, right, where you're talking about Jimmy Butler going away from the 76ers, the team he finished with last season, and coming back and playing in that building. I know it's the second time he's going to do it, but he is still going to hear it from the brotherly love faithful fans. They are going to be loud and against him every time he touches the ball. I think he still gets 20. I think he still gets 20-plus points, but are the guys around him, Goran Dragic, he's also a game-time decision. Right. The other guy that handles the ball for the Heat. So I'm actually going to lay the 7.5 here. Again, I like to buy the hook, Danny. Let's say take it to 7, and you're still winning some money.
Ed, how about you?
Well, Miami does play solid defense, but I would not consider it an elite defense. 10th in points per 100 possessions. They're 2nd in three-point defense, but I don't think three-point defense is something you can necessarily control, because step backs, catch and shoots, they're going to beat pretty much any defense around the perimeter in today's NBA. So the Heat, they've had a grueling road trip in Dallas and in Memphis, while the Sixers, they do have that extra day of rest. I think that's the key here. I'm taking the Sixers to cover.
All right, well, let's move on to Dallas, where Ed is from, and where the Mavericks are going to look to stay afloat against the Celtics, while Luka Doncic sits out his second game with an ankle injury. Doncic's 29.3 points per game account for 25% of the Mavericks offense. So points may be at a premium tonight versus a Celtics team that only allows 104.1 points per game, good for 4th in the NBA. So, Ed, you're in the Lone Star State in Dallas. So how do the Mavericks handle Boston without their star player?
Well, first, I don't think points are going to be at a premium here. I think they're going to be plentiful. So first off, I'd probably take the total over here. But I know the Mavericks had an incredible win over Milwaukee without Luka Doncic, but I'm not sure that's going to be sustainable given Luka's 36% usage rate, which is 5th most in the NBA. Kristaps Porzingis, Seth Curry, other role players certainly helped the cause in that game. But I'm not sure that's going to be sustainable against another tough foe. The key to me is Jason Tatum. I know he's dealing with a sinus infection right now, but he's 6th in the NBA in real plus minus. Assuming Tatum is just fine, I'm going to take the seed.
Dave, what about you?
I like the over in here. I think even without him, the 218 is a low total. Dallas has now gone over in 4 straight games. And when Boston and Dallas hook up, It's usually a lot of back and forth. The last 5 games, Boston has gone to Dallas. It hasn't gone under 1. So I like the over. I'm going to skip the side in this game and play the over 218.
Mark?
I just look at what Ed was talking about. I think it's a classic letdown scenario for Dallas in this case. Yes, the huge win without Doncic to take down the Milwaukee Bucks, who had won 18 straight games. I feel a little let down at home. And besides, the Celtics did beat them by 10. I think it was 5 weeks ago in Boston. And now they only have to win by 3 for you to get the money. I like the Celtics here.
All right, guys, let's shift our attention from the pros to the college ranks. And we're going to start in my most favorite place in the world, the Pacific Northwest, where number 2 ranked Gonzaga hosts North Carolina, who are unranked in the AP poll for the first time since 2014. 2 teams that are ranked 7 and 8 in the preseason poll have gone in opposite directions since. UNC has the injury bug to blame as freshman standout. And leading scorer Cole Anthony will be out 4 to 6 weeks with a partially torn meniscus. Hate to see that. And then for Gonzaga, they've got one of the deepest rosters in the nation with 6 players averaging in double digits and are coming off back-to-back wins versus ranked opponents. Dave, UNC is a 12.5-point road dog tonight. So do the Tar Heels snap that 3-game skid?
Well, I think if they snap the skid, it's going to have to be on defense because I don't see them putting up a lot of points. The Zags hold their opponents at home to 40% shooting, and Carolina's going to struggle to really put the ball in the basket. What I'm looking at here, and remember, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of bets at the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm going to use the team total for North Carolina, which is 66.5, and play the under. That way I don't even have to sweat whether or not the Zags end up scoring, 80 and covering. I'm going to play under, thinking that North Carolina is going to have a hard time of it putting the ball in the basket tonight.
Mark?
Yeah, I agree with Dave here in terms of the scoring for North Carolina, not only because of the injury absence of one of their stars, but the fact is their offense ranks 256th in the nation right now. You go to the other side of the floor and look at Gonzaga, their scoring offense ranks 4th in the nation. There's going to be a huge discrepancy in this one when it comes to scoring points for these 2 teams, so I think Gonzaga can cover this number.
Ed, what are you thinking?
Well, Cole Anthony isn't just a star. He is the star for North Carolina, and losing him is significant. I'm still a little stupefied that Gonzaga's hosting this game. North Carolina traveling coast to coast. I mean, that's incredible for the program out with the Bulldogs. But look at Ken Pom rankings. Gonzaga's 6th. North Carolina is 36th. 50th ranked offense in America for North Carolina, and this is still with Cole Anthony, so you lose him. That's really difficult, if not impossible. Whereas Gonzaga, incredibly deep roster, so many guys can produce offensively. I think the Bulldogs roll here.
Okay, well, let's keep on rolling here with our games, and let's move to the number 3 team in the country, Louisville, who hosts Sean McVay's old school, Miami, Ohio, tonight. The Cardinals are not skating by with 10 wins to this point. They're beating teams up with an average margin of victory, guys, of 17 points, which ranks 12th nationally. The Redhawks come into this one losers of 4 of 5 after starting the season 4-1. Not a trend they like to keep around, right? So this Louisville team, Ed, is one that you liked going into the season. They're 23.5-point favorites tonight. Do they cover?
I think they do. Louisville Cardinal Jordan Nwora, player to watch, averaging better than 21 points a game. And as a unit, they shot 63% against Eastern Kentucky in that last game. And this is the potential for the offense. And yet the defense is really what's carrying Louisville. 3rd in Ken Pom defense for the country. I don't want to read too much into that Texas Tech loss. Those things just happen, especially early in the season where Louisville just went cold. I think Louisville can be the best team in America, and I think they can cover 22.
Mark, do you agree?
I agree with Ed here in the situation that Louisville, remember, they lost to Texas Tech, and then they turned around in their next game, and they covered a line of 31 points. Now we're only talking about 23 points here in this one. I think that Louisville will be able to control all aspects of the game. They're the better team in scoring. They're the better team in rebounding. So, yes, 23 is still a lot, but I'm willing to give that number and have Louisville cover it.
Dave, wrap this one up for us.
I'm going to take the other side and say that that's too many points to give to a team that can put the ball in the basket. They average 75 points a game. Junior forward Delonte Brown's going to step back behind the arc a few times, hit some threes. Keep this one in the teens. Let's say they lose by 18 or 19. I win, you guys lose.
I win, you guys lose. Well, if you like betting college basketball, the NBA, or the NFL, there's a bunch of fun bets that you can make on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. But we're going to give you free money, because who doesn't love free money, to make your first wager. All you got to do is download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up for an account using the promo code MOREWAYS25. You'll get a risk-free bet up to $500 in site credit and an additional $25 bet. So make sure you sign up for a FanDuel account using the promo code MOREWAYS25. 25. We've got plenty more to come on FanDuel's More Ways to Win, right? We're going to break down Sunday's biggest matchups in the NFL. Bowl season kicks off this weekend. We're going to get you ready by breaking down the biggest games, including one that's very near and dear and close to my heart. And our experts are going to tell you who's on their naughty and nice list this holiday season. You don't want to miss it. We're back in 2 minutes.
Never miss a moment of the action with the brand new Watch TVG app, available in high definition on Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Roku. Finally, you can enjoy your favorite racing from the best tracks in the U.S. and across the globe without a cable subscription. And better yet, we'll bring you exclusive content, expert handicapping, and the latest news from the racing world 24 hours a day. Download the Watch TVG app now. TVG, your best bet.
Sometimes a trip to the casino is not in the cards.
You have gas, there's tolls, there's traffic, there's parking. And what is a resort fee? I think everybody wants to know what a resort fee is. I'd rather just stay and play at home.
With Betfair Casino, you can play anywhere in New Jersey. No long drives, no hassle.
You just can't beat the convenience.
I've downloaded the app. It's fun, it's quick. I can play anywhere in New Jersey.
Playing on Betfair Casino, I save on tolls, I save on time. It's great.
With over 400 casino games, you could be playing your favorite games in 3 simple steps. Step 1. Sign up at betfaircasino.com and get $10 free for joining. Step 2. Make your first deposit and we'll match it up to $2,500. Step 3. Join the thousands in New Jersey playing for real money online.
It doesn't matter, how much we're betting. It's just the excitement of it. The adrenaline starts to flow.
Join the fun today at betfaircasino.com. Try it free.
Do you want to bet the next race and don't have a TVG account? Get the TVG mobile app and sign up. It's fun, easy, and it's TVG. I'll show you how it works. When you bet the horse that wins, you win money too. With the TVG app, select your horse, bet type, and wager amount. Place your bet and watch the race live. Download the app and sign up now, or go to TVG.com. Join now and get a risk-free bet up to $200. TVG, your best bet.
Hey guys, here's a look inside the FanDuel Sportsbook at the Meadowlands. If you live in New Jersey or you're just visiting the area like Dave's going to be a little bit later today, you just gotta check out the FanDuel Sportsbook. You can take advantage of the self-betting machines while enjoying watching games on hundreds of TVs, and you can instantly deposit or withdraw money from your online FanDuel account right there. Plus, there's shuttles running to and from MetLife Stadium on game days, so that's a great time to check it out. Dave's about to be there and do all the things I just talked about, and I'm so jealous. He's hopping on a flight directly after this show, guys. Pretty cool. Okay, let's take a look at some of the biggest matchups on Sunday, and let's start with the battle for the NFC East division. The Cowboys clinched the East with a win here, while Philly must win their next 2 to take the division crown. Dallas has really fared well in Philly as of late, winning 6 of their last 7. However, those games were decided by just an average of 7 points. That's it. And despite the season-long injury issues the Eagles has been facing, their Eagles offense actually has been clicking as of late, averaging over 30 points in their last 3 games. Mark, I'm going to start with you here. The Cowboys are giving 2.5 on the road in this one. Do you agree? I just heard a giant sigh.
The thing about it is that, yes, Dallas, given the injury situation and what you've seen from the Eagles having to grind out wins against the Giants and the Redskins the last couple of weeks, you should say easily, yes, Dallas should win this game. But do I trust the Cowboys from what we've seen over the last 6-7 weeks or even the entire season so far? Of course I don't. I do not trust the Cowboys at all. But I go back to the injuries for Carson Wentz. He's so limited, especially at the wide receiver position. I just think it's going to be really, really tough for him to put up big numbers in this game, at least consistently through 4 quarters. So, Dave, I am going to go with the Cowboys, even though I said they were dead to me a couple weeks ago.
You can't be just risen from the dead. Only one person can, and that's not right now.
Yeah.
Okay, Dave. Talk to me.
Everything he said, I thought he was going with the Eagles. He's basically setting up how bad Dallas is. Both these teams are bad. This division has turned out to just be terrible. But this is all based on what happened last week. Because the Cowboys beat the Rams, now they're favored in Philadelphia. I'm not buying that. The Cowboys haven't really been good on the road most of the year. Give me the money line on the Eagles. I think that they have, obviously you already said, they have to win this game and their next one. Eagles step up, do what it takes to win an ugly game.
Ed, Mark is likening the Cowboys to Jesus right now. Can I get your pick?
I don't want to get a lightning bolt get through the office here, so I'm going to pass on that reference. But what'd you say? 6 out of the last 7 in Philadelphia for Jason Garrett. 2 of those games did not have playoff implications, so you remove those. It's actually 5-0 in meaningful games for Jason Garrett in Philadelphia. One of the reasons why he has had the Cowboys job as long as he's had it is because he does incredibly well in these divisional matchups. He beats just about everybody, especially when the stakes are this high. For Philadelphia, they have so many injuries at wide receiver that it's pretty much the Zach Ertz show and just about nobody else. But for the Cowboys, you know how many offensive weapons they have. They're pretty much healthy at this point. You saw what they did against the Rams. That's what the ceiling is for the Cowboys. I'm going to take Dallas here to cover.
All right, let's switch gears now to the AFC, where the Steelers head to the Meadowlands to face the Jets for the first time since 2014. It hasn't been easy, not at all, for Pittsburgh on the road winning against the Jets. They've won just once in their last 4 games. Pittsburgh's 6th-ranked defense looks to get back on track against a Jets offense that ranks 31st in total yards per game. Mark, I'm going to start with you because Dave's going to this game, right? So Pittsburgh giving 3 points on the road. Do you see them covering in this one?
I do not. First of all, I'm seething with jealousy right now.
Gosh.
The fact that Dave's going to get to go to this game. Although we'll be nice and warm back here in Southern California, maybe with a tea time. I digress. Going back to the game, I just don't trust the Pittsburgh offense. That's what really for me. And you look at the Jets, yes, their record is 5-9, but it's probably the best 5-9 team we've seen in a long time. You take out that stretch where Darnold was out with mononucleosis in the middle part of the season, they could be well close to a 500 team, I think, this season. They're playing at home. I just don't believe in Pittsburgh. I'm going to go with the Jets. I like Jets money line, in fact.
Here's the deal, guys. Dave is not only going to the FanDuel Sportsbook, then he's probably going to get on that shuttle, take himself down to Meadowlands. And I'm curious to know, how do you see this one playing out? Because you make your bet right before you head over there.
Yeah, Ed and I are going to do the show Sunday morning, and then I'll put on my throwback Mean Joe Green number 75 Steelers jersey and go root for the Steelers. I'm going to bet
Dr. Pepper.
I'm going to bet them on the money line.
Okay.
Hey, kid. I'm going to bet them on the money line, obviously to have some rooting interest. But I actually went to a Jets-Steelers game, Ben Roethlisberger's first season back in 2004. It was a playoff game, freezing cold in Pittsburgh. Steelers were 15-1. The Jets were 10-6. And the Jets kicker missed the field goal to send the game to overtime with no time left. He would have won it. The Steelers ended up winning in overtime. But what was the final? 20-17. And you look at this line. The spread is 3. The total's 37.5. This could be 20-17. Again, that's what the odds say anyways.
Right.
But I'm going to bet the money line, so I don't have to sweat the cover. And I'm also going to bet, I think it's going to be a lot of field goals when this prop comes out later in the week, over total field goals.
All right, Ed.
Probably 3.5, something like that.
Yeah, they're going to keep going back and forth with a lot of field goals.
Great stuff. Ed, let's get your pick on this one.
We are in the holiday spirit. I think all 3 of us want the money line here for the Jets, and I'm fine with that. Just fine with that. Intended air yards per pass attempt. Devlin Hodges, 7.4. Sam Darnold, 8.3. It's not that big of a difference, and both in the middle of the pack among all quarterbacks in the National Football League. Jets' offensive success rate, it is 26 when Darnold starts this season. For Hodges, it's 14th. Yes, it's much better, but it's not an elite level, and I think it still points to the fact that you have the better quarterback at home as a dog. I'm taking the money line for the Jets.
And I'm Steelers money line, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, just so you know.
So we're not all.
Not all Jets.
We're not all, yeah. Okay, well, let's finish up our Sunday matchups with a cross-conference game between the Saints and the Titans, because the Saints' 4th-ranked rush defense looks to slow down Derrick Henry and the Titans' 8th-best rushing attack. New Orleans comes into this game winners of 4 of 5, averaging nearly 35 points during that span. And on the road, they're 5-run, but with a scoring margin of just 5.2 points. Mark, the Titans are 3-point home dogs. Do you see them pulling off the upset?
I do not. Remember that noise Dave told you about with the air coming out of the balloon? I think it's the same thing here this game when you talk about the Tennessee Titans after losing to the Houston Texans. Plus, on top of it, right now the Saints are the best team in the NFC for sure. I have no question about that. Still in contention for that #1 spot with teams like the Packers, the Vikings, and the Seattle Seahawks. But I think the Saints are the best team. You look at the numbers as well. 9-3 against the spread, 10-2 straight up in their last 12 games. I think it's a small number here at just 3 points. I love the Saints here in this situation.
Dave?
I like the Saints as well. You know, Drew Brees' ability to look off his safety. He's looking over here. He throws the ball over here. He's going to have the Titans secondary very confused and find ways to hit those open receivers. They're just hitting on all cylinders right now, and the balloon goes.
I can't even make that noise. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Ed, let's get your take on this one.
Yeah, here's the name that we need to think about here. Saints left guard Larry Warford has a knee injury that could hamper the run game as well as protection for the Saints. Titans don't generate just a ton of quarterback pressures, especially given Drew Brees will get rid of the football quickly. So I'm not sure how much of an injury that's going to be for the Saints. But keep in mind, if it does just enough, then the Titans offense, as elite as it is, could keep up in a shootout. So first off, I love the over total here because I think both offenses are going to do very, very well. But the Titans can keep up, especially if the Saints are slowing down just a little bit. So I think the Titans can cover here.
All right, great stuff. Well, as you make your bets, you got to keep in mind those players that are dealing with an injury because it definitely could impact what's going on, right? So joining us now is our favorite doctor, Dr. David Chow. He is the former head doctor for the Chargers, so he's in a unique position to kind of talk about some of these injuries that we've been seeing this season. Remember, you can follow him on Twitter. His handle is @ProFootballDoc. Definitely give him a follow. But, Doc, thanks so much for joining us. I do want to start with Vikings running back Dalvin Cook. He left last game with a shoulder injury. Minnesota does not play until Monday night, so do you think that this is an injury that can worsen if he plays through it, or is it pain management at this point?
Well, it's all hands on deck, right? This game against the Packers is essentially for the home field and hosting the game and for the NFC North crown. So I don't have any doubt that Dalvin Cook will play. He's played through the last couple of weeks from a Week 12 right SC joint injury on the right shoulder. This is actually on the other side. He injured his left shoulder. So believe it or not, that's actually good news. I think he was held out of the end of the Chargers game because of the score and because of looking ahead to the Packers game. So this is a case where I believe Mike Zimmer that he is saying Dalvin Cook is going to be okay, and I believe so too. The right SC joint should be almost behind him. The left shoulder injury seems to be minor, so he should be good to go.
Okay, so then let's talk about Julian Edelman, shall we? The Patriots wide receiver. He's played through various injuries all year, but he's dealing with a knee injury, and there's speculation that it's tendonitis in the patellar tendon, which is never good news. So how should the Patriots handle this?
Well, the bottom line is they're not going to be able to keep Julian Edelman off the field. They really need him. But the problem is he's not the same player right now. The patella tendonitis is not dangerous, usually does not need surgery, will get better, but it takes multiple weeks to get better. And if you analyze his video, he clearly favored his left knee. So I believe the left knee patella tendonitis. He couldn't get in and out of breaks. Two-way goes are his game, and he couldn't do that. And there was one particular pass in the flat that was a little high to him. He had both feet on the ground, yet he only jumped off his right leg. Didn't even jump off his left leg. So this is something to watch. It's not season ending, but it definitely could affect his performance, and it's probably going to linger into the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely something people are going to want to pay attention to. See, this is why we've got the doc on here to let you know. I also want to ask you about Dak Prescott because there's been some conflicting reports on the severity of his right index finger. Last week, he threw a season-low 23 pass attempts, and this week in a cold-weather game, how will the Cowboys medical staff keep his throwing hand protected? Because there's been some different reports going on about what exactly is going on with Dak Prescott.
Yeah, and when there are different reports, usually somewhere in the middle is the truth.
Right.
Some people have said fracture, some people said bleeding. I think it probably is a nail bed injury where there is a small fracture and bleeding, but it's not an unstable fracture. He already played through the game with it. As you noticed, he didn't throw 30 passes, but he could have. I think it was the style of the game and they were trying to run the ball. I don't think the finger is going to be a big issue. And if you look right there on your screen, that dominant grip is with his middle finger. The index finger isn't doing a whole lot in that type of football grip. So I think it's of minimal to no effect on Dak Prescott.
Not going to lie, that made myself and Mark kind of look down at our hands and showing how to grip the football. But that makes a ton of sense. It's cool to have your insight on that. Is there any more injuries that we should be paying attention to in that Eagles-Cowboys game?
Well, there's, that one's an all-hands-on-deck game, too, right? That's for playoffs. There's no other way they're getting in except winning the division, and that's going to be the key. So one of the key injuries to watch is Lane Johnson, right tackle, and he's got a high ankle sprain. And I think normally he probably would not play, but for this game he's going to. And Geiger Hill, the linebacker, had concussion issues, which he hid, and now he's got back issues where he's going to end up with a disc surgery, and so he's definitely out, and that's a late announcement.
Okay, good stuff there. Well, Dr. Chow's got a bunch of great information at profootballdoc.com, so make sure you check it out. Remember, you can follow him on Twitter for more injury information. His handle is at profootballdoc. Doc, appreciate you joining us. Just such great insight right there, especially when it comes down to this Dak Prescott injury. And guys, you heard Dr. Chow's analysis of the injuries around the league. So Dave, I want to start with you. Does any of that information kind of bet the way that impact at all the way you're going to bet in Week 16?
Yeah, and I wasn't in love with the Eagles-Cowboys game to begin with,
right.
But if I was going to bet it, I'm going to be betting the Eagles on the money line. But him saying that Dak is more healthy than it might seem,
right.
And then the banged-up players on the Eagles, I might end up just passing this game entirely. I'm still not going to bet the Cowboys. I was either going to be Eagles or nothing, and now I may just lay off the game because that's some very valuable information.
Mark, what about you?
I go to the backfield for the Vikings. Obviously, a huge game against the Green Bay Packers. Dalvin Cook has been incredible all season long, one of the leading rushers in the NFL. But there's some pretty good guys behind him in Boone and Madison. So for me, it really gives me clarity that, yes, Dalvin Cook should be fine, and I think that makes Kirk Cousins and the rest of that offense a lot better for the Vikings.
Ed, what do you think?
I'm looking at the Patriots game and what's going on with Julian Edelman. It is interesting, to say the least, in large part because it's always been next man up for the Patriots during this dynasty, but at some point you're running out of guys. And if ever there's a reason not to believe that the Patriots can make it work, it might be this year because of Edelman's injury and the fact that there's really no other elite receiver or elite tight end moving this offense.
And I don't think he's someone that's going to want to sit out anyways. All right, well, let's take all that football information and make a bet on the free FanDuel Sportsbook app. And we'll even give you a free $25 to place your first bet. You're welcome. Here's how you get the cash. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app, sign up for an account using the promo code MOREWAYS25. You'll get a risk-free bet up to $500 in site credit and an additional $25 free bet. So make sure you sign up using a FanDuel account and use that promo code MOREWAYS25. It's the most wonderful time of the year, guys, right? Of course, for more reasons than one, but definitely because it's college football bowl season. 41 games will be played between this Friday all the way to the national championship game on January 13th. So let's start our bowl coverage with 19th ranked Boise State taking on Washington in the Las Vegas Bowl on Saturday night. The Broncos come in riding a 6-game winning streak and have covered the spread in 3 of their last 4 games, while the Huskies are losers of 4 of their last 6. Mark, I've covered a lot of Mountain West Conference games this season. It is a tough conference, and the fact that they came out on top of that one is extremely impressive. The line is set at Washington -3.5. Do you think they got this line right?
I don't. I think the wrong team is actually favored in this one. When I look at Washington, they've been one of the most underachieving teams from the Big Five conferences so far this season. And then you look at Boise State. Yes, they're the Mountain West champions. They know a thing or two about pulling off upsets in bowl games. And so when I look at the Broncos, they're also 6-0 the last 6 times that they have been an underdog, which they are here in this one. The final piece I add into it, yes, Chris Peterson, the head coach of the Huskies, has already announced that he is going to be leaving the program at the end of this season. I think that has a huge impact on the young minds of his players, and I think they come out and they lay an egg. I love the money line here with Boise State.
Boise State is good. Mountain West Conference has had 7 teams be at least bowl eligible this season, so a good team there. Ed, I want to get your pick here.
I know it's not analytical, but I do think motivation matters a lot when you're looking at bowl games, and Boise State could be the best group of 5 team going up against a Power 5 program. So Boise State does want to show the world that they can play with the big boys. There's also a quarterback carousel for the Broncos that's important, and someone wants to prove that they are deserving of a starting job next year somewhere. I do believe the Chris Peterson news is a big deal in terms of Washington having motivation. But when you have a group of 5 team going up against a Power 5 team, they want to show the world what they're capable of. And I believe Boise State has been in this position a few times before going up against a big boy, and they always seem to come through regardless of the situation. I trust that history. I'm picking the Broncos money line.
All right, good stuff. All right, next we've got the New Orleans Bowl between the 20th ranked Appalachian State and UAB, the first meeting in those 2 programs' history. Appalachian State is the reigning New Orleans Bowl champions, while Alabama Birmingham looks to win their 2nd bowl game in school history. Mark, App State is a heavy 16.5-point favorite over UAB. It won 5 straight against Conference USA opponents. Do they keep that streak going?
I think they do keep that streak going, Danny, but this number is interesting. It started actually 3 points higher at 19.5, and obviously money hit for UAB immediately when that number came out, and it's pushed it all the way down to 16.5. So something tells you that maybe sharp money is on that. I think it could even go down a point or two lower, so I would wait a little closer to kickoff before I would bet on this one. But App State's offense is much better than that of UAB. Both teams are actually very good on the defensive side of the ball, so you might even want to take a look at the under in this one.
Dave, what's your bet for this one?
Well, UAB is one of the worst teams in the nation that shoots itself in the foot with unnecessary turnovers. So I think they're going to turn the ball over. Appalachian State, in the meantime, protects the ball, averaging more than 5 yards a carry. They're just going to consistently move the chains. Since they became a real team back in 2014 and became bowl eligible, they've won every single bowl that they've gone to. The last 2 years, winning by 32 and 34. I think Appalachian State just crushes in here.
Ed, who do you got?
I'm going to go with Appalachian State here. I think the resume is a good bit better. UAB, yeah, they do have some talent, no doubt about it. But there's something about Appalachian State where not only do I think they can blow out UAB, but also there are things that they're trying to prove as well, given that they also felt like they could be that top group of 5 team, maybe going to the Cotton Bowl. Instead, it's going to Memphis. And so I think they want to prove to the rest of the world that they are a program that's going to be around for a long time to come.
Great stuff. All right, well, now because the holidays are here, Christmas is right around the corner, our experts have made a list. Hopefully they've checked it twice, and they're going to tell us who's been naughty and nice this year. And we're going to start with who's been nice. This could be a team, a spread, or a total that looks really nice to you. Mark, you're up first. Who's on your nice list?
My nice list has Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. As I said earlier here in the show, I think they are definitely the best team in the NFC right now. Now you get an opportunity for them to, although they are going on the road, I love the Saints here in this situation. They're only giving 3 points at Tennessee. As we said, the bubble has burst a little bit with Tennessee. Yes, they're still alive, possibly in the AFC South, but I think it's going to be nice here to see the Saints get another win, and then they can be in cruise control for Week 17.
This, rock and roll Christmas music is going on in my ear. I hope our viewers can hear this as well. Dave, how about you? Who is on your nice list?
Well, the total in the Bucs-Houston game being at 49 is nice because this game is going to get to the 50s, maybe even into the 60s. So just visually seeing that at 49 is a nice thing. I love the over in that game with the Tampa defense going to give a lot of points to Houston.
I don't know how you guys aren't bobbing your head back and forth with this music. Ed, who's on your nice list? Tell me with some rhythm.
Oh, no, I'm dancing with some feet here. Don't worry about it. Might be a roller coaster here for Tampa Bay, but you know what? They're my roller coaster. I said to adjust the spread against the Lions, and you could have added even more than just the 2 touchdowns that I recommended. So I do believe this Buccaneer offense is rolling, regardless of the injuries at wide receiver. It is next man up for Tampa Bay, and I think they're going to continue to play hard against the Houston Texans.
Beautiful segment, guys. I appreciate your hard work there. Now, whether you prefer to bet bowl games or the NFL, or it's all available, actually, on the free FanDuel Sportsbook app, and we'll even give you a free $25 to place your first bet. Here's how you get the cash. Hope you're paying attention. You just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's free. Sign up for an account using the promo code MOREWAYS25, and then you're going to get a risk-free bet up to $500 in site credit and an additional $25 free bet. So make sure you sign up for a FanDuel account and use the promo code MOREWAYS25. We've got plenty more to come on FanDuel's More Ways to Win. We've got NBA and college basketball to break down. Plus, the guys will let you know who's on their naughty list this year. Hopefully that music will be back. I'm not so sure if it's going to be as cheerful. They're going to give us our best bets as well. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Never miss a moment of the action with the brand new Watch TVG app, available in high definition on Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Roku. Finally, you can enjoy your favorite racing from the best tracks in the U.S. and across the globe without a cable subscription. And better yet, we'll bring you exclusive content, expert handicapping, and the latest news from the racing world 24 hours a day. Download the Watch TVG app now. TVG, your best bet.
Sometimes a trip to the casino is not in the cards.
You have gas, there's tolls, there's traffic, there's parking. And what is a resort fee? I think everybody wants to know what a resort fee is. I'd rather just stay and play at home.
With Betfair Casino, you can play anywhere in New Jersey. No long drives, no hassle.
You just can't beat the convenience.
I've downloaded the app. It's fun, it's quick. I can play anywhere in New Jersey.
Playing on Betfair Casino, I save on tolls, I save on time. It's great.
With over 400 casino games, you could be playing your favorite games in 3 simple steps. Step 1. Sign up at betfaircasino.com and get $10 free for joining. Step 2. Make your first deposit and we'll match it up to $2,500. Step 3. Join the thousands in New Jersey playing for real money online.
It doesn't matter, how much we're betting. It's just the excitement of it. The adrenaline starts to flow.
Join the fun today at betfaircasino.com. Try it free.
Do you want to bet the next race and don't have a TVG account? Get the TVG mobile app and sign up. It's fun, easy, and it's TVG. I'll show you how it works. When you bet the horse that wins, you win money too. With the TVG app, select your horse, bet type, and wager amount. Place your bet and watch the race live. Download the app and sign up now, or go to TVG.com. Join now and get a risk-free bet up to $200. TVG, your best bet.
Guys, we've got a couple more exciting college basketball games tonight that I want to bring you in on. So let's pick up with Utah matching up with 6th-ranked Kentucky in Las Vegas tonight. The Wildcats are winners of 6 in a row and by an average of 18 points during that span, while Utah also comes in streaking, winners of 4 straight. Dave, coming to you first. Kentucky giving 11.5 points to the Utes tonight. Is that too much?
I think it is too much. Obviously, it's not going to be easy to score on Coach Cal and the Wildcats defense, but Utah scores a lot of points. They've got 83 points on average this year. Check back in 2 months, and I would say, yeah, Kentucky should be favored by 11 or 12. But this early in the season, look, history that Kentucky gets better as they get closer to March. We're still only in December. I'm going to take Utah on the points.
Mark?
Yeah, I agree with you here, Dave. While Kentucky might be ranked in the top 10, they haven't been that way when it comes to against the spread numbers. In fact, this season, they've only covered 3 of their 9 games so far. And you mentioned it. Utah can score points with the best of them, 83 points a game average. I think they can score just enough here in this one. And defensively, while their defense is a little bit below average, I think they can do just enough. I see it more of as a 7 or 8 point game with Kentucky winning.
Ed, what about you?
Well, if Utah is averaging 83 points, then Kentucky has to be in the mid-90s or even hundreds to be able to cover a spread like this. I think Utah's defense not being that great is a little bit overrated of a narrative in general, because if you're scoring a lot, chances are it's a higher pace. And so to me, Utah keeps up that pace, and they should be able to cover 11.
Guys, I'm so excited for this next one because what's a Seawolf? I'm a Seawolf. Yep, we've got my alma mater, Stony Brook, looking for a road upset at number 9, Virginia. The Cavaliers come into this game leading the nation in scoring defense, allowing just 44.2 points per game. But they're just 1-6 against the spread in their last 7 games, and they haven't faced my Seawolves yet, right? While the Seawolves are looking to pick up their first win against an ACC opponent, that would be the first one in program history. And Virginia is giving Stony Brook 17 points. Can they cover that?
Do you remember the movie Airplane when the energetic guy unplugged the lights to the runway near the end of the film? That's Danny if I pick against Stony Brook, and I will no longer be in this nice little box here. No, I actually think Stony Brook can cover this large spread. Virginia plays a very slow, methodical pace of play, incredible defense, yes, but the offense has not quite been there like it was a season ago. And so I think Virginia is going to have a lot of close games this year. They're going to win nearly all of them, but that slow pace means that Stony Brook only has to score in the mid-40s to be able to cover a spread like this. And I think Stony Brook can cover a large spread.
Oh. So bad. Ed, Dave, I am standing next to you.
I was just going to say, Ed's half a country away and afraid to pick against them. I'm within arm's distance and telling you that Stony Brook has no chance to cover in this game. That's the most we're ever going to hear the word Seawolves on this show for the rest of the history of it. Look, they had 20 turnovers in their last game. Is it possible that the Seawolves could have more turnovers than points in this game? I'm predicting that. 30 turnovers, 29 points. Virginia wins 63-29. Sorry, Stony Brook alum.
You are getting an invitation to my boxing class. We usually punch a bag, but right after the show I'm going to use you. All right, lastly, we've got a Big Ten matchup with 15th ranked Michigan State on the road at Northwestern. The Wildcats have alternated wins and losses over their last 4 games, while the Spartans will play their first true road game of the season. And the history between these two programs has been one-sided, to say the least. Michigan State's won 10 straight against Northwestern, 34-4 overall against the Wildcats since 1997. Yikes. Michigan State is laying just 12 points tonight. Do you think that they cover this spread, Ed?
Well, it's interesting because no Big Ten team has won a conference road game yet. And it is sort of a spurious trend, because why the heck would that possibly happen this early in the year? But I think a lot of people are going to give the Wildcats some juice because of that trend. But when you look at offensive KenPom rankings, Michigan State comes in 4th. Northwestern is 153rd. Cassius Winston, still arguably the best point guard in America. I think Michigan State will be just fine.
Mark, what about you?
I agree. I think it's going to be 11 straight here for Michigan State, and I say that because their offense averages 80 or just above 80 points a game. On the other side, you gave us the numbers, Danny. They have been dominant against Northwestern. I do have my concerns a little bit about the Spartans and their inconsistency so far this season. They've only covered 3 games so far this season, so that is a little bit of a concern. But I think in this matchup, and seeing that there's also been some other Big Ten teams that have already been upset, Coach Izzo has his team ready for this one, and they cover.
Dave?
And despite them slipping really out of the top 10, they are still my pick to win it all. They're going to right the ship. They're going to get things correct. And as we get to March, the experience of this team is going to take them all the way. And it starts right here. I think they win big.
All right, guys. Well, you told me who's on your nice list. Now it's time to find out who's on the list that I've never been on in my entire life, and that's the naughty list. And that means they're not getting any presents this year, right? Mark, starting with you. Who's on the naughty list?
Well, I got to go to the 4 teams that are playing for probably not to win and more to lose. I'm talking about Miami, Cincinnati, Washington, and the Giants. And they all happen to be playing sort of against each other, right? It's Redskins, Giants this weekend, and then you also have the Bengals and the Dolphins. Who wants to bet on this game? Who wants to watch this game? I certainly don't. So all 4 of these teams, yes, clearly are naughty. They don't want to win. They want to get the first pick in the NFL draft in the offseason.
Dave, who's on your naughty list?
It is a line that is just nasty, naughty, whatever you want to call it. 6.5 for the Rams when they're going to lose by 7. The Niners are going to win this game by a touchdown. So there's nothing worse, Mark, you know this, than losing by a half. I know you like to always buy that half a point or a point. So if you like the Rams, don't take that naughty number plus 6.5. Buy it up to 7.5 to give yourself a chance. I think the Niners win by 7. So plus 6.5 on the Rams, naughty.
Lastly, Ed, who's been bad to you?
The Utah football team has been very bad. Came into the Pac-12 championship game with a shot to make the college football playoff. Instead, they go all the way down to the Alamo Bowl, and now they have to face Texas, and it will be a home field advantage for the Longhorns. I think the Longhorns actually cover in a game like this. Utah, you're getting a lump of coal for me this year.
Wow, and the song's starting to slow down, guys. The naughty list is donezo. Appreciate it. No presents for those guys. I always got presents because I was always never on the naughty list.
Getting thick in here.
All right, I know my parents are watching, like shaking their head at the TV right now. Yeah, right. Okay, well, after all of that analysis, it's time now for your best bets for tonight, right? So, Dave, I'm going to start with you. Give me your best bet and tell me why.
All right, we're going to roll to the bowl game on Saturday. Appalachian State to crush UAB. We're laying 16.5, but when they win by 30, that's not going to matter. They've never lost a bowl. They're 4-0 since being moved in to the bowl eligible status, and they are awesome. They're going to crush a bad team in UAB. Give me Appalachian State. Best bet.
Mark, best bet. Let me know.
Going down to Tampa Bay, I love Houston minus the 3. They have so much to play for. They win this game. Not only are they pretty much all said and done and wrapping up the AFC South, but then obviously they can go into cruise control mode in week 17 of the season. Deshaun Watson, he will do his thing. He's got all his weapons available. You saw it last week when they went and beat the Tennessee Titans. I love Houston in this spot, just minus 3.
Okay, well, last but not least, Ed, give me your best bet.
Got an NBA parlay for you. I've got the Wizards covering the half a point and the over 231.5 points for a total of plus 256. Washington, 4th most points, 2nd fastest pace in the NBA. Chicago can keep up, and so the parlay should make sense here.
Great stuff. All right, we'll take all of that information, all the